So, what if I told you that behind the absolute sharpest images on your screen, there's a hidden secret, a fundamental concept from physics that you see every single day, but you've probably never even noticed? I mean, really think about that. You've got an image you can magnify 100 times, 1,000 times, and it never breaks down into those chunky, blurry pixels. The lines stay perfectly sharp, the colors are totally smooth. It almost feels like magic, doesn't it? So, what is this magic trick? What's the invisible force behind this kind of digital perfection? Well, the answer actually lies in two really simple but incredibly powerful ideas from the world of physics. Let's start with the first one. Okay, first up, we've got scalars. You can kind of think of these as the basic building blocks for everything we're about to talk about. So, what are they? Well, simply put, they just answer the question, how much? A scalar is a super simple concept. It's really just a quantity that has two parts, a number, which we call its magnitude, and a unit. That's it. It tells you the size or the amount of something, and absolutely nothing more. And here's the thing, you use scalars all the time without even thinking about it. You know, when you say your mass is 70 kilograms, or the distance to the store is, say, 2 miles, or that the time is 3 o'clock. All of those things, mass, distance, time, temperature, they're all scalar quantities. They just have a value and a unit. Simple. But what if how much isn't the whole story? What if we also need to know which way? Well, that brings us to our next key concept, the vector. A vector takes that idea of a scalar and adds one absolutely crucial piece of information, direction. So now we don't just have a magnitude and a unit, we also have a specific path or an orientation to go with it. So for example, saying you're traveling at 60 miles per hour, that's your speed, that's a scalar. But saying you're traveling at 60 miles per hour north, now that's velocity, and that's a vector. See the difference? The same goes for force, like pushing a box with a certain amount of strength forward, or acceleration, which is just a change in velocity in a particular direction. Look, when you put them side by side like this, it all boils down to one key difference. Both scalars and vectors have a magnitude and a unit, but only vectors have that real game-changing element, direction. And this whole concept of direction, it just opens up a whole new world. In fact, vectors come in a few different flavors, and each one has a really specific job. Let's do a quick tour. First up is the unit vector. Its job is incredibly simple, but so important. Its length, its magnitude, is always just one. Its entire purpose is just to point, to say, hey, go this way, without changing the overall size of whatever you're measuring. It's basically a pure directional signpost. Then we have the null vector. This is what happens when you have zero magnitude. Just imagine you take 2 steps forward, and then you take 2 steps right back to where you started. Your start point and your end point are exactly the same. You've gone nowhere. That's a null vector. And finally, there's the position vector. Honestly, just think of it like dropping a pin on a map. It's a vector that starts from a central, fixed origin, your home base, let's say, and it points directly to a specific spot, telling you both how far away that spot is and in what exact direction. All right, so we've talked about scalars, vectors, direction, but what in the world does all this physics have to do with that perfectly zoomable image we saw at the beginning? Well, it's time to connect the dots and reveal the secret. The secret has been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Those flawless images? They're called vector graphics. Yep, the name itself was the biggest clue all along. So how does this work? Well, instead of being a grid of tiny little squares called pixels, a vector graphic is built from mathematical commands. The computer gets instructions like draw a line from this point to that point, or create a curve with this exact arc. It's an image that's literally built from instructions, not from a grid of dots. And because the whole thing is based on these mathematical relationships between points on magnitude and direction, the computer can just recalculate the image at any size. When you zoom in, it isn't stretching pixels and making them blurry. No, it's just redrawing the lines and shapes based on the exact same instructions, just on a bigger scale. And that's why the quality stays absolutely perfect. So you see, the secret to that flawless image isn't about having more and more pixels. It's about using a totally different approach, one that's rooted in the physics of vectors, defining points in space with magnitude and with direction. From the logos on giant billboards to the fonts right here on your screen, vector graphics are this invisible but incredibly powerful part of our digital lives. So now that you know their secret, this language of magnitude and direction, it kind of makes you wonder, right? Where else are vectors silently shaping the world all around you?